Hello everyone and welcome to what will be my final Gran Turismo 5 video. Now, a few of you new subscribers might be thinking, what? He's had Gran Turismo 5 videos? Isn't this the first Gran Turismo 5 video he's ever done? Well, actually no. In the past I have done Gran Turismo 5 videos. I did a difficult events series, and I'll link that into the description if you want to have a look at it. But this was before I started commentating on videos, and indeed before I even had a HD HD recorder. Sorry. So yeah, it was quite a long time ago. But here we are with the final Gran Turismo 5 video, which may end up being the first one that a lot of you ever see. So here we are at Le Mans, and this is the end of the 24 hours of Le Mans. As you can see in the top right, we've done about 22 hours 50 minutes of the race so far. So I can pretty much sum up the race so far with one word: rain. Now, as you can probably see, it is slightly raining at this point in the video, but that's nothing, because for the last 20 hours or so it's been raining completely and the track's been 100% wet. Now you can see the little marker in the top left that says 90 odd percent. Now that is coming down, and this only happened at about 15 minutes, well, an hour and 15 minutes to go. And I hadn't seen anything other than 100% track wetness for about 20 hours. So you can understand that I was quite a little bit excited at this point, because I hadn't had really a good go at getting a good lap time. I'll explain more about that later, but yeah, basically what I decided to do is come into the pits later on when the track got a little bit drier, about 70 odd percent, and I put some intermediates on. Now, the thing about tyres on Gran Turismo 5 is that the wet tyres don't actually give you the most grip in the wet. I know that's weird, but in A-spec races, which is what this is, the grip reduction from a wet track isn't as harsh as what it would be if it was simulated properly. So, in actual fact, putting on some soft, slick tyres, even in 100% wet conditions, would still give you a quickest lap time, and that's just a stupid feature of the game. But what I decided to do is just to take whatever the computer told me to have. So if I went into the pits and it said intermediates, I would put intermediates on. If I went into the pits and it said full wets, I would put full wets on. And as you can probably have seen from the first section of this video, it was a very slow go. It was very slow going. You have to be very careful on the throttle. But to be fair, it simulated more what I thought was closer to wet conditions. You know, there's no point in it being 100% wet and then just putting on some soft, slick tyres and, you know, just driving around it. It just ruins the fun for me. And with a 24-hour race, you want to keep it as fun and entertaining as possible so you don't lose interest. So yeah, I came into the pits and I decided to put some intermediates on, and I was kind of unsure as to whether it would actually get dry before the end of the race. You know, it's into the last hour, and who knows, you know, I just didn't know whether it was going to be dry or not. But, you know, that's obviously what I was hoping for, so I could get some quick lap times in. So, as you saw, I just came into the pits to put some intermediate tyres on, and a little bit later, after the track had dried even more, I was absolutely flying. You can compare this with the first lap, because I'll be showing the same sort of section of the track. So, just to put this into a bit of perspective, my best lap times when it was dark and with a 100% wet track were about 4 minutes 3, 4 minutes 2. They were sort of the best that I could get. When it got a bit lighter, it was a little bit easier, and I was getting 3 minutes 56s, 3 minutes 57s, although there was one absolutely stonking lap where I got 3 minute 53. And now, with intermediates on, as you can just see here, I've got a 3 minutes 37, so bringing the lap times down by about 20 seconds just through changing the tyres. So later on, what I decided to do is pit for soft tyres. Now, the track was about 40% wet, and I think at the time I figured, well, I might as well just risk it, put some softs on. I don't know whether the track's going to dry up entirely, but you know, I'm not worrying about all the cars that are behind me. I'm easily going to win the race. let's go for a lap time. So I decided to put some soft tyres on, probably a bit too early as you'll see, because I do spin off almost immediately. But I have to say I was really loving Gran Turismo 5 at this point. Yeah, what you have to understand is that I had never experienced soft tyres on this car on this track before. At the start of the race, because I like to keep things interesting with the computers and stuff, the computer controlled cars, I only used the hard tyres, and my plan was, if it stayed dry, to sort of switch between hards, softs, mediums, even go on to the sports tyres, which are even slower, just to sort of keep the gap to the computer cars consistent. Now, as it turned out, I didn't need to do that because it rained, and every time that I brought the race back up again after suspending it, the computer cars were automatically on hard tyres whilst I was on wets, and could outpace me a lot of the time. So it was like a balancing act in that way. But this right now is my first experience on soft tyres, and I couldn't believe the speed that I could get. So again, to put it into perspective, as I said earlier, my best lap in the wet, 100% wet, with rain tyres was about a 3:53. Then with intermediates I got a 3:37, and at the start of the race my best lap on the hard tyres was a 3:28. But as you can see in the top right, my first lap out of the pits with soft tyres I got a 3:27. My second lap out of the pits with soft tyres I got a 3:26, and this lap that you're watching now I got a 3:25. So every single lap I managed to better my best lap time ever. But I kept seeing little bits of things that I could improve, and with my tyres already starting to go off, I figured, well, I might as well pit with 10 minutes to go, put a new pair of tyres on, don't bother to refuel, and just go for it and see what lap times I can actually get. And I wasn't really expecting world record lap times or anything like that. I was just wanting to end on a high, if you like, after having 20 odd hours of complete abject misery in the rain. It wasn't misery, I did enjoy it, but I wasn't able to push the boundaries of what the car could do around the track because it wasn't dry. But as you can see now in the top left hand corner, the track is completely dry, so it was the perfect time right at the end of the race. Just absolutely put new tyres on, brand new, track's completely dry for the first time in about 22 hours, and just go for it. So yeah, I was quite excited at this point just to be sort of let loose and have a bit of fun, and it was a good end to what had been a quite grueling race. 24 hours is a long time, and it must have took me maybe a month or so to do. So I was over the moon with the fact that I was able to just push it right at the end. So here we are on the first lap out of the pits, and I don't think I've done this first section of corners on this track any better than what I do on this lap. I envisaged myself being able to get 3 more laps out of it, this one and 2 more, and I really went for it on the start of this lap, and really I was so pleased with how it turned out, because I've never done those corners better than that. But unfortunately it wasn't quite as rosy as I would have liked, because later on in the lap I do make a slight mistake when I was distracted by a back marker, and really the mistake itself of outbraking myself wasn't that much of a problem, but then I did catch the gravel, and that made me hit the wall. So yeah, that made me lose a little bit of time. But again, when we get back to the end of the lap, I was absolutely flying around these sets of corners as well. Now if you go back and compare this with how I was doing it at the start when it was completely wet, it's such a big difference. But yeah, I really nailed all of these corners, and I was really pleased with how I was driving at that point. I was totally focused, and I got a good lap time out of it. As you'll see, I managed to get a 3:21, 3 minutes 21 seconds, which absolutely blitzed anything I'd done before. So yeah, I was really pleased at this point. Now my next lap wasn't quite as good, so basically I had 1 more lap to try and beat my best lap time. So we come on to the last lap now, that's what you're seeing here, and I do have some cars to contend with, but basically I'm going to show the whole final lap of the race. Now, yeah, again, this is the final lap of a 24-hour race. So it's quite a big occasion in itself, and, you know, it isn't a perfect lap in itself. You know, I'm not looking for perfection. It's not as if I've had 24 hours of dry running as practice. You know, so I'm just pushing the boundaries and seeing what I can do. So whilst you watch that and hopefully enjoy it, I'm just going to talk about the other thing that this video is about, which is the Platinum Trophy. Now, you probably noticed this from the title, because it included the Platinum Trophy, and you're probably wondering why I haven't mentioned it, but here it is now. So, for years, I've pretty much completed Gran Turismo 5. I'd had all of the trophies except for one, which was to get to level 40 with your A-Spec, career. And I'd always saved it for this race because I knew that completing this race would give me enough experience points to get to level 40, which would then give me the final trophy that I needed to then go on and get the Platinum Trophy. But I never ever got around to doing this race, so it must be about 3 or 4 years or something, or even longer, that I have actually had everything else completed on Gran Turismo 5, and that's why, you know, the videos for GT5 were so long ago, because I did them all so long ago. But yeah, this has pretty much been the one thing that I haven't done just because I've never got around to it. And way back when I was actually into Gran Turismo 5, my initial plan was to just invite a load of friends over and do it all in one go. Sort of one 24-hour race, we all sort of take turns in driving and sleeping or whatever, and complete it that way. And back then that was the only way that you could do it, because you couldn't stop the race halfway through. But, you know, these things just, it never materialised. It was obviously a difficult thing to organise, and it just never happened. But then, about a month ago, someone actually mentioned to me that they'd included on GT5 the ability to stop the race halfway through or whenever you have a pit stop. And I thought, oh, right, okay, well, that makes it a lot easier. So I just started up the 24-hour race, and I would do anywhere from 45-minute stints to 2.5-hour stints on the race, just sort of chipping away at it, and then, you know, just working through it. And every time I'd come in the pits, if I needed to, I would just click suspend, and I'd be able to, you know, pause the race essentially and come back to it at a later time. So yeah, it's still taken me maybe a month or so to actually get the race completed, but as you can see now, we got there in the end, because this is the last few corners of the last lap, and, you know, I've really enjoyed this race. I did really embrace it, and it was such a strange feeling to actually finish it when you've spent 24 hours of your life on this one race. It was quite exhilarating to finish it, and as you see there, I actually did manage to break my lap record on the last lap, which was quite nice as well. I got a 3 minutes 20 in the end, and I probably, if I hadn't made the mistake on the previous lap, where I got a 3:21, I think a 3:19 or a 3:18 was possible, but, you know, I didn't really have that much practice in the dry weather to, you know, really give it that last little bit. But I was very happy with that lap time, and as you can see, I won the race, obviously, not by much, because, as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to keep things interesting through the race. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I loved every minute of it. So as you can see here, now I'm getting my my money for the race, which was quite a nice amount, and the experience, which then put me up to level 40, which is exactly where I needed to be to unlock the last trophy and unlock the Platinum Trophy, which means for me Gran Turismo 5 is officially complete. So as you can see here in the top right, those are the trophies unlocking on the actual page when you get them, and on the next bit of video it'll be showing them in the trophy page. So yeah, that's it. Gran Turismo 5 is officially done for me now. That's it. Just waiting for Gran Turismo 6 now, which I can't wait for at all. I'm sure I'll complete that 100% as well, and I'll be bringing you loads of videos on it. So be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it. You know, let me know what you think. Are you excited for Gran Turismo 6? And how far did you get to getting 100% completion on GT5? Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.